Somewhere in southern Africa, about 70,000 years ago, a woman woke up before sunrise. She had food. She had shelter. Her children were alive and sleeping next to her. And she felt uneasy. She didn't know why. She scanned the darkness anyway. That feeling, that low, quiet dread that arrives for no reason, is still inside you. It never left. And it was never supposed to. Most people assume unhappiness is a modern problem, a product of social media or traffic, or the particular cruelty of a Tuesday afternoon. But the science tells a different story, one that reaches back much further than any of that. Your brain isn't broken. It isn't failing. It is doing exactly what 3 million years of evolution built it to do. The problem is that what kept your ancestors alive is quietly dismantling your ability to enjoy being alive at all. This is called negativity bias. And almost nobody understands how deep it actually goes. Start with a simple experiment. In 1998, psychologists John Cacioppo and John Gardner wired people up to electroencephalographs and showed them a series of images. Positive ones, negative ones, neutral ones. The brain's electrical response to negative images was significantly larger than its response to positive ones. Not slightly larger. Measurably, consistently, dramatically larger. Your brain doesn't process good and bad equally. It never has. It was built to weight bad far heavier than good. One threat missed could kill you. One pleasure missed cost you nothing. So your brain learned, over millions of years, to treat every negative signal like a 5-alarm emergency, and every positive one like a polite suggestion it could safely ignore. This is why the one cruel thing a stranger said to you 5 years ago still surfaces at 2 in the morning, while the 100 kind things people said that same week have completely dissolved. Your brain didn't malfunction. It prioritized. It filed the wound and deleted the warmth, because warmth never once saved anyone's life. But it goes further than memory, much further. In the 1970s, psychologist Elaine Hatfield began studying something she called emotional contagion. The way emotions move between people, not through words, not through decisions, but automatically, invisibly, like a virus that jumps before anyone knows they're sick. What she found was unsettling. Negative emotions don't just spread between people. They spread faster than positive ones. They hit harder. They last longer. They dig deeper roots. One person in a bad mood can pull an entire room down within minutes. Their jaw tightens. Their posture closes. Their voice flattens, and without a single word about how they feel, the people around them begin to mirror it. Heart rates shift. Shoulders drop. The mood in the room changes like weather. One person in a good mood almost never lifts a room the same way. Joy is slower. Joy is quieter. Joy has to work for its spread. But fear, anger, and grief, those travel at a different speed entirely. Hatfield's later research found that this happens below conscious awareness. You don't decide to catch someone's anxiety. You don't choose to absorb a stranger's dread. Your nervous system does it automatically, in milliseconds, through a process called motor mimicry. Your face, your breath, your posture unconsciously copying the emotional signals of the people around you, and then your brain reading those signals back and generating the matching feeling inside you. You have walked into a room and felt something was wrong before anyone spoke. That was not intuition. That was your nervous system doing what it was built to do, reading the emotional atmosphere of the group and adjusting you to match it. Because 70,000 years ago, when someone in your group went rigid with fear, the correct response was not to stay calm and ask questions. It was to go rigid too, immediately, without thinking. The ones who paused to evaluate were the ones who got eaten. This is why grief spreads through a family like a current. Why one anxious colleague can quietly raise the tension of an entire office. Why you can walk into a party feeling fine and leave feeling hollow without understanding why. You absorbed it. Your brain collected it from the air and filed it as your own. And here is where it gets stranger still. Your brain doesn't just bias toward negative experience. It actively works against your ability to stay happy. There is a process called hedonic adaptation, first described by psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell in 1971. The idea is this: no matter what happens to you, good or bad, your brain has a happiness set point it always drifts back toward. You get the promotion. You feel the lift. Within weeks, that lift fades, and your baseline quietly returns. You buy the thing you wanted for months. The pleasure dissolves faster than you expected. The new city becomes the old routine. The extraordinary becomes ordinary before you even notice it happening. Brickman and Campbell studied lottery winners and found something that disturbed almost everyone who read it. Within a year of winning, lottery winners reported roughly the same levels of happiness as people who had not won at all. The windfall had become wallpaper. Your brain had recalibrated, reset, moved the goalposts without asking you. This isn't ingratitude. This is engineering. A brain that stayed permanently satisfied would stop scanning for threats. It would stop solving problems. It would go soft at exactly the wrong moment. So, your brain was built with a reset mechanism that pulls you back to neutral, no matter how good things get. Contentment, in the evolutionary sense, was always a liability. It meant you might stop paying attention. The result is a life that feels like running on a treadmill that someone else controls. You work towards something for months. You get it. You feel the lift briefly. Days, maybe weeks. Then the treadmill speeds back up, and you are running again toward the next thing, quietly wondering why a rival never feels the way you spent so long imagining it would. And the last piece of this is the one nobody wants to say out loud. Your brain doesn't only feel more negative. It manufactures threats where none exist. In 2005, research estimated that the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, roughly 80% are negative, and 95% are the exact same thoughts recycled from the day before. Your brain doesn't generate fresh worries every morning. It reruns yesterday's. It loops. It rehearses. It runs simulations of disasters that will almost certainly never arrive. Because for 3 million years, rehearsing danger kept you alive. A brain that only feared real threats was a brain that didn't fear them quite fast enough. You are not anxious because your life is hard. You are anxious because your brain cannot distinguish between a predator in the grass and a difficult conversation waiting in your inbox. Both register as threat. Both summon the same ancient machinery. The tight chest, the narrowed focus, the inability to think about anything else until the danger is resolved. The predator is gone. The machinery remains, running inside you every single day in a world it was never built for. So, what do you do with this? You cannot think your way out of 3 million years of engineering. You cannot argue with a nervous system that was forged in a world where hesitation meant death. But you can understand what you are actually dealing with. The uninvited thought at 3 in the morning is not the truth. It is a security system misfiring in the wrong century. The happiness that fades after the thing you worked for isn't weakness. It is a feature your ancestors needed and you inherited without being asked. The emotional dread you caught from a stranger in a waiting room isn't yours. Your brain borrowed it automatically, filed it as a threat, and forgot to tell you where it came from. The woman in southern Africa who woke before sunrise and scanned the darkness, she survived because of that unease. Her children survived, and their children, all the way down to you. You are here because anxiety worked. Because negativity spread faster than joy and kept the group alive. Because the brain that never let anyone fully rest was the brain that kept the species going. But you are also the first version of that brain that gets to know what it is. And knowing what something is has always been the beginning of no longer being entirely ruled by it.